He was one of the most respected judges in the country. But one case changed everything. He thought it was just another missing person. But when the boy returned after 33 days, untouched, whispering about dreams and Surah Ikhlas, then the horror began, the voices, the shadows, the verdict from a book he had never opened. What made this powerful judge fall to his knees and finally say the shahada? This isn't just a story. This is a miracle. And it all began with Surah Ikhlas. Stay with us till the end. This is one journey you'll never forget. And maybe it's one your heart's been waiting for too. The Judge Who Saw the Shadows. A true story of conversion through Surah Ikhlas. There was something unnerving about the silence in courtroom 17 that morning. The chandelier above the mahogany bench trembled slightly despite the lack of wind, and the air carried a stillness too heavy to ignore. Judge Robert H. Lawrence, with his sharp gray eyes and impeccable black robe, looked down at the court through his gold-rimmed glasses. To him, justice was sacred. He had lived his life dissecting right from wrong, wielding the law as both shield and sword. Yet, in all his years, he had never felt as uneasy as he did now. The case before him was one of those unremarkable ones, just a missing person. A young Middle Eastern man, last seen leaving a masjid after the evening prayer. The police had found no body, no signs of foul play, and the family had little to go on. The hearing had only been filed as a procedural formality, but something about the way the mother looked at him during the last session, it stirred something. Her eyes didn't plead for justice. They declared it, as if she already knew where her son was and only needed the world to catch up. Judge Lawrence had spent 3 nights plagued by unsettling dreams. In the first, he was standing on a vast plain under a burning sun. Millions around him stood naked, weeping, their eyes glued to the sky. Then a voice, deep and thunderous, boomed, "Today the scale of justice is not yours." He had woken up with his heart pounding and shirt drenched in sweat. The second night was worse. He stood in front of a gate made of black smoke, from which shrieks erupted like sirens of the damned. A robed figure appeared before him, holding a scroll sealed in blood. "This is your judgment," the figure whispered, "unless you turn to him." When he opened the scroll, he saw his own signature at the bottom, but not in ink, in fire. By the third night, Lawrence found himself walking through a deserted court. The walls wept blood, and every verdict he had ever given echoed from the ceiling. Guilty, innocent, life acquitted. The repetition turned chaotic, cacophonous. Then came the silence, and in it, a single word etched itself into his consciousness. Ikhlas. He woke up gasping, this time trembling. For a man who held no belief in religion, the word meant nothing. But something in its sound, soft yet eternal, carried a weight. The following morning, he typed Ikhlas into a search engine. It took him to Surah Ikhlas. The words, translated into English, spoke of oneness, of purity, of monotheism, of a God who begets not and is not begotten. He scoffed initially. A 4-verse poem, he muttered. But as he read it again, something cracked inside him. The words didn't plead or persuade. They declared. It wasn't religion, it was a verdict. That evening, he visited the masjid from the missing persons case. He told himself it was curiosity, part of an open-minded investigation. The imam, a quiet man with a gentle face, welcomed him without question. "I'm not here for faith," Lawrence clarified. "Just seeking clarity. Truth doesn't fear inquiry," the imam said with a smile. "Would you like to sit in for Maghrib?" He did, and it was then, amidst the soft murmur of recitation, the rhythmic unison of believers bowing and rising, that he felt something he had never known, silence within himself. Not emptiness, not loneliness, but calm. An unseen courtroom opened within him, where every doubt and logic tried to argue against what his soul already knew. That night, the dreams changed. He saw the young man who had gone missing. Only this time, the boy wasn't lost. He was standing beneath a tree in an ancient land, reciting something under his breath. Behind him stood others, all in white, faces aglow, whispering verses that echoed like thunder without sound. The boy turned to him and said, "You judge by man's law, but now you must face the book." "What book?" Lawrence asked in the dream. The boy raised his finger, and a giant Quran appeared above the sky, opening its pages like wings. "The judge of all judges is calling you." He awoke screaming. The following day, a strange twist unfolded in the missing persons case. The boy had returned home. He had been missing for 33 days, yet when brought to court, he looked untouched, fresh, as if from a retreat, not an ordeal. "I was in the cave," he said simply. "Which cave?" asked the prosecutor. "I don't know the name. I only know Allah kept me." Judge Lawrence froze at the word. The boy glanced at him, then smiled. "You were there too, weren't you?" "What do you mean?" the judge asked, his voice shaking. In the dream, under the tree, the gavel dropped unintentionally from Lawrence's hand. That night, Lawrence returned to the masjid. He sat alone. The imam approached him quietly. "I saw something," Lawrence confessed. "And it saw you," replied the imam. Tears welled in the judge's eyes. "Do you think I'm going mad?" "I think," the imam said, placing a hand on his shoulder, "you are waking up." Days passed. The courthouse seemed increasingly surreal to him. Colleagues appeared as puppets playing justice while hearts remained blind. He once tried to say the shahada in front of the mirror, but his lips quivered. Then came the horror. One evening, he was working late, alone in his chambers, reviewing an old file. The lights flickered. A foul wind passed despite sealed windows. The shadows on the wall danced. Then came the whisper, not outside his ear, but within his chest. "You will be judged by the book you ignored." He looked up and saw a figure, skeletal and cloaked in smoke, standing behind him in the mirror. Its eyes were hollow, but within them were screaming faces, criminals he had set free, innocents he had condemned. The creature opened its mouth, and 1,000 voices cried out in unison, "Repent." He fainted. When he woke up, the word Ikhlas was written in ash across the surface of his desk. He didn't wait any longer. The next day, Judge Robert Lawrence walked into the masjid, trembling. In front of the congregation, he declared with shaking voice, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah." A silence fell, then tears, then whispers of Allahu Akbar. From that moment on, he no longer wore the black robes of worldly justice. He took early retirement, changed his name to Rahim, and started his life anew. But he didn't disappear. Instead, he became a bridge, teaching others about the inner justice of Islam, the mercy that transcended law. Years later, at a dawah event, someone asked him, "What made you convert?" He smiled and said, "A case no court could solve, a judgment from above, and a whisper in the silence that said, Ikhlas." That night, as he sat in prayer, a soft wind blew once more. But this time, it smelled of musk, not decay. And in his dream, he saw the prophet standing beneath that same tree. "You gave verdicts all your life," the prophet said with a smile. "But this was your final case, and you won." Tears poured down his face even in sleep. He never returned to a courtroom again, but his heart had become one, ever weighing, ever listening to the voice that once whispered in the shadows, now echoing in the light. Say, "He is Allah, the One." And that was all the truth he ever needed. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who may be searching for truth. Let the light of Surah Ikhlas enter their soul. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, deeninminute, for more real, miraculous, and emotional stories of people finding Islam. Because one ayah can change a heart forever.